Welcome. This is TrinityGaiaOracle. In this series, we will be taking a journey through each card in the Divine Masculine Healing Oracle deck by Christabel Jessica, and the artwork is by Cecilia G. F. I'll begin by reading through the guidebook as I've been guided to do so, and in my experience so far with this deck, there is just so much insight and different perspectives and beautiful healing possibilities present within the insights in the guidebook. And then I will move into the intuitive reading of Dionysius. Dionysius. Indulge your senses in pleasure and sensuality to connect to ecstasy. Look at the relationship you hold with sex and let go of outdated societal rhetoric holding you back from intimacy. Recognized as the god of ecstasy, wine, and vegetation within the Greco-Roman religion, Dionysius is known for having a plethora of lovers. Born to parents Zeus and Semele, the princess of Thebes, Dionysius had a dramatic start to life. He was saved by Zeus in the womb when Zeus's wife, Hera, devised a plan to abolish Semele and her unborn child out of jealousy. Zeus sewed up the unborn Dionysius in his thigh for a time to keep him safe, making him twice born. A patron of the arts and associated with pleasure and fertility, he represents the lifeblood of nature, particularly sap and juice. With a vivacious nature and a zest for life, Dionysius is a guide for those wanting to tap back into the sensuality of life. Dionysius message. Just like a Venn diagram where two or more circles overlap, sexuality and sensuality exist separately sometimes and intertwine together at others. You can have sex without sensuality, sensuality without sex, and sensual sex. Sexuality activates the body, and sensuality animates your spirit. Combining the two offers an immersive, euphoric experience, connecting the body to source energy. Sex stripped of sensuality is often devoid of intimacy. Intimacy can be intimidating and requires profound, naked openness. This level of vulnerability can be a sensitive issue, not just in terms of the body. When an open heart meets sexual liberation, a one-night fling can hold more love, connection, and intimacy than a long-term relationship in some cases. Abundant aftercare, affection, openness, and vulnerability can completely transform the act of sex to a healing experience. Shame-filled narratives are one of the obstructions keeping modern-day daters away from deep intimacy. Talk such as being soft for showing romantic love, being criticized for wanting to go home early to the ball and chain on a night out, and peer pressure to sow their seed all serve to keep intimacy suppressed. The rhetoric directed at women shames them for enjoying sex for their own pleasure and for indulging in multiple partners. Men are held in high regard for their sexual prowess and power, while women are shunned for it. These two opposing narratives worm their way into collective beliefs, thus affecting behavior, patterns, and paradigms systematically. This shame polarity shows up like two magnets trying to connect, but repelling and bouncing off of each other. This opposing magnetic energy encapsulates much of the dynamics of modern dating. Another obstructive dynamic in the dating scene is the prevailing preference for nonchalance, which is not only favored but actively encouraged. Projecting an image of emotional restraint and aloofness is seen as holding the upper hand in this unspoken competition. There's a subtle contest to see who can maintain the most withdrawn, blasé, or emotionally detached demeanor. To avoid this, question your beliefs surrounding the feelings of embarrassment in showing romantic interest, and consider working with a practitioner of your choice to identify issues of past rejection and abandonment that keep you fearful of intimacy. Clear the past to find some more ease in connecting with pleasure, play, sensuality, and sexuality. As a channel, as an intuitive reader, I can only work with what I've experienced. And this particular placement is a bit of a challenge for me because I view that part of me as very private, very personal. So I'm going to read this card from the individual perspective. I may definitely branch over into the involvement of others, but I will not go into explicit detail. That is personal, it is private. If you choose to interpret anything that I share, that I channel as a leap towards something more intimate, that is your own experience that you are co-creating with the divine within you through this reading. My hope is that there is this very balanced, healing, nurturing, yet inquisitive nature that comes through for you in this reading. The very first thing that really jumps out to me about Dionysius in this pose is he has wine in one hand. And he's obviously had some, nothing's spilling, but in the other, he's still wanting to reach for not just the grape and wine, fermented, beautiful notes, but the actual experience of the burst of the juice of the grape over his palate as he bites into it in its raw form. The experience of that burst of flavor is an indulgence. It's a celebration of being able to experience that sensation in its vast contrast, especially if you pair it with something like cheese. There's a reason why when you go to a fancy restaurant and they bring you out something with raw grapes, there's usually cheese and bread and maybe some meats with it. It's all about experiencing each note in its fullest experience. The sensual experience of the senses I relate to, as I'm sure many others do, as almost a musical vibration of experiencing reality through different senses. Just as if you're in the middle of a club and you could feel the bass booming through your entire body. It's not just auditory. It's part of what goes into making a complete memory is all of the senses. Indulging in all of those finer notes, becoming aware, being a connoisseur of sensation, just as you are a connoisseur of wine. Being able to pick out each note and savor when they complement one another. And we are each unique. There are certain combinations that just really do it for us. Some of us like dry wine. Some of us like a very sweet wine. And then there are certain wines that are paired very well with certain foods, and sometimes you just have to take the chef's recommendation for it because they might know something. Being the chef, this is their life, this is what they do. They might know something you don't. And to be willing to explore that, to be surprised that something that is new for you may actually be a very good experience, to step outside of that comfort zone. You may want to have some questions answered. You may want to understand a bit more. So whatever may be causing you to be not so sure, you can ease that part of you so you can relax into the experience of it and enjoy the full range of sensation, just as you would picking out different notes like chocolate in a wine. Very, like the concept that you hear them talk about wine, right? You're like, oh, it's very like light and almost flowery, and a bit of like lilac, and then it finishes into this very subtle but deep, earthy, warm, dark, sweet tones, almost hinting of chocolate. If you can speak of that with all of your senses, with each one, with the combination of what you hear, like some people, they like to listen to music. Maybe there's a certain kind. I hear Barry White is a pretty popular sound. However it may be, that just really adds to the experience. Knowing this about yourself, learning this about yourself, requires someone that is willing to explore this with you, to help you find all of these notes with you. It's a journey, a healing one for many of us. To be willing to take the time to not just know yourself, but know your partner. What temperature do they like the room to be? What kind of sheets do they prefer? Do they like it dark? Do they like it light? Do they like lots of blankets or pillows, or do they just want none of that? Or do they like to be outside and, just like Dionysius, be able to feel the wind, be able to feel that earth right beneath you? However that range may be for you. As you explore this for yourself, you are taking that time to love yourself, to understand you. When you involve another individual, it's about the complementing of what you like and what they like, and what that wine experience for them is that like for them, that you add to in your unique way, that only you can bring that experience because no one else is just like you. The intimacy, that safe space to express what you want, what you desire, what you feel, to ask questions, even if you're a bit bashful or shy about it, to be yourself. That is the base note of the wine. That core space where you can be respected and honest, and know that the other will reciprocate. In many ways, this is the foundation. This is the friendship that you begin with, where you know the other means you only good things and considers the effect for you, not just in that moment, knowing that each time you show a bit more vulnerability and you experience something, it leads into the next experience. It builds. It never stops being an experience with a partner. It's like every day is foreplay. This is a saying that I have encountered from a couple of wise individuals in my life, and it is so true. It is great advice to give anyone, to look at every day, every moment as foreplay. That way it never stops being something that you are exploring with one another. You're always present. And then from that foundation, it's something personal, it's private, but it is so beautiful. It is so healing. It is so liberating. And it is so unique to that combination between the two of you that no one else can quite be like that. Now, there are dynamics, as in the guidebook coming in, where you can have an experience where someone is so in tune with you in a one-night stand that you have a connection with them that you did not have with someone you were with for years. Someone who gives you permission to just feel and to know that they will facilitate that experience being only positive. Enough that you can just trust them to lead you through the experience. It's a surrendering of control. For those dynamics where you've been in a long-term connection and this has not necessarily been something that has been really explored, there is such beautiful healing that is present in opening dialogue about such things as, what do you like to eat? And I come back to food because there is a reason why dates begin typically with a good meal. It's a sensory experience. It is very foreplay. It leads into more sensory experience. So food is key. It's a very safe place to start. But from there, liberating someone by giving them permission to actually tell you what their fantasies are, even if they don't really know what they are. And maybe they're a little like insecure, ashamed, bashful, shy. I don't really have a fantasy. Maybe if they're there, like they just never allowed themselves to go there. And maybe their fantasy is very simple. I just really want to know the person I'm with loves me for all of me and is there for me without judgment, without criticism, without censure. Beginning this dialogue, if that happens to be their fantasy, you get to explore and find and discover things together. Because typically then, they're going to want to know what yours is. And then they're going to be curious as to why. And what about it? And how best to go about doing that. And how to learn how best to facilitate that. Because that's what you do when you're connected with someone, especially in a committed relationship. That's your person. That's for the two of you. It's implied that there's somewhat of you are explicit. You are not sharing yourselves with others. You are only with one another. To open that dialogue and allow it to be a space of exploration, of fun, and if they are feeling insecure, to just straight up say, I am 100% here for you. I want to share this only with you. And I want you to feel free, to feel uncaged, unbothered, unrestricted, unrepressed. I want you to find a freedom here that is possible if we're willing to seek it. Because I am, because I trust you with that part of me. And then share something that maybe some other people may, kind of look down on, depending on who they are. They might be like, ooh, that's a little different. I don't know, maybe you like to suck on toes or something. I don't know. Some people would just really be like, ugh. But that's some people. If that's something that's like your thing, then that's like, okay, you're going to give her a pedicure. So, yay, more bonus pampering for her. Or, you could spend special time with him doing a pedicure for him. Maybe you like to suck on toes. I don't know. Whatever it may be, let it be a celebration of your connection with this individual, that special space that you only share with them. The other thing would be that this is speaking to a population that, is definitely more adult. We all have stressors. We all have things that sometimes we come into a dynamic or a situation or an interaction with our partner, and it's just hard to leave the stress behind. To have an understanding, and at times, you'll learn this about one another, but to talk about it so you both kind of know exactly what's going on. Sometimes when you're in that state, they will know exactly what you need to be able to just fully get your head out of it, and you will be so grateful to finally just let that stress go and know that that person is a person that will bring you back to being just you, not you and all of this extra stuff attached to you, just you, and that you are loved in that space. You are valued, you are respected, you are celebrated in that space. There can be certain things that you do agree to when you're coming home from work, or, maybe it was like a family thing, whatever it may be. Maybe you need 5 or 10 minutes of just doing something that has nothing to do with anything, and it helps you to organize some of that and not bring it to them. Not bring it to the intimacy, to the relationship, to that space that is for the two of you. To allow yourself to bring your best self to the table. The greatest gift that you can give anyone is your happiest self. And sometimes that's just not achievable, depending on the stressor. And that's where your partner can help, if you find yourself in that situation. And I'm not even saying that it's definitely going to be an intimate encounter. It can be simply, I'm going to pamper you. All right, I know. Everything else, we're canceling it. We're doing nothing. We're not doing anything but this. And then maybe you're just taking that time. All of it, as I said, think of it as foreplay. All of it. Be it from making them coffee in the morning when typically nobody does, but you bring it to them. You don't just make it. You bring it to them. To, it's bedtime and you're both really, really, really tired, and you just make sure that they know that they're really tired, and you're just thrilled to be able to be close to them and fall asleep next to them without pressure. How would you feel if you were them? That's what the foreplay is. Making space for them to know that their needs are of concern for you, and that to be reciprocated. So when the two of you do have a chance to enjoy, just like Dionysius, that burst of the flavor of the grape over his tongue, when you have that time with one another, it is a culmination of all of those moments in between the last time you were able to express how much you want them to love every moment of their life, to celebrate every sensation they can in this moment, to really just let them know how much they are loved, that you are celebrating their presence in your life. Every moment where you made them feel seen, valued, heard, appreciated, cared for, is brought into that moment. And Dionysius, he, in this particular card, is in a pretty tame pose for Dionysius. But he is the god of sensuality. He is saying, indulge in the beauty of living life fully. The concept that we only have one life, You only get to live this life, this timeline of your life, once. Some of us can time travel, I guess, and relive some of these moments. Lucky sometimes. But even then, it's the reliving of the highest notes, the best experiences, the moments where they felt the most loved. And if that happens to be something that you can give one another, why not? And if you have someone who just doesn't really meet you there, then maybe you're not the right wine to complement their wine. Did you learn something though? Did they learn something? So you do know. It's about bringing that knowledge and expanding it to become your better, higher, happiest self. As you move through your life, you learn more about yourself and others. And that it is bringing this intuitive reading for Dionysius to a close. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am incredibly grateful to each and every one of you. The divine, the light in me honors and sees the light in the divine within you. Namaste.